Let's go back to the photos though, because I kind of want to paint that picture.
Okay, so I've found these photographs that I pulled down from the loft, and they're pictures of me and my dad floating on our backs in a swimming pool. Very public swimming pool, because there's pictures you can see when I show you in the background. There's like families there.
Wow.
So both of our trunks are pulled down just below the knee. So I'm going to use the word cock and balls because that's the phrase I feel comfiest saying.
Yes.
Trying to keep it politically correct, penis and willy. It's like,
yeah.
We had our cock and balls on display. Difference being, he's a fully grown man. I'm a child without a pubic hair on my body.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at these pictures, and my girlfriend at the time has seen him. She said, you do know that's abuse. Then the penny's dropped. It's like, yeah, I'm exposing myself there because my dad's exposing himself. I'm not encouraging him to do that.
No.
He's encouraging me.
Yeah.
Why is someone taking a picture of that? I've got a little, a small, undeveloped penis on display, and we've had to raise ourselves above the water level to get it in shot. So it's like,
who's taking the picture as well? His wife?
I think it had to be his wife.
I mean,
She was also his victim.
yeah, so she felt she had to.
She was also a victim of his. I mean, yeah, she was in every single newspaper you can imagine at the time when they was going through their divorce. And the divorce papers, this is one thing that I will release one day, because I've got the divorce papers, because there's still a few people that defend that fucking piece of shit. So, well, I'll show you his divorce papers. And you can see yet somebody else accuse him of doing exactly the same thing as what all these other females. Annabel Croft, all you got to do is put in Google, Annabel Croft, molestation, Pete Gillette.
Yeah.
Annabel Croft accused the famous tennis player.
Yes, I know
accused
she
my
is.
dad of molesting her when they went on that TVS reality show.
Yeah.
Survival, it was called, or Survivor. It was
one of the first, wasn't it? Yeah.
See, we're now showing our age, but it was like, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And so even then, he still couldn't help himself. He's going for, she was a legend.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
She was a legend. Annabel Croft.
A narcissist would do that as well.
He always, have a look, he goes for top tier people.
Yeah.
I'm going for Ron Kray. I'm going for Reg Kray. I'm going for Jules Holland. I'm going for Roger Daltrey. I'm going for Annabel Croft. They will submit to me because I'm the narcissist.
Wow.
Listen to the words, paint the picture. If you're familiar with these personality disorders, he ticks every single box. I will exploit you physically, mentally and sexually because I can do what I like.
Yeah. And actually, he's probably got other comorbid disorders there, because obviously he loves bombs people. He's got that personality. Like you say, he's like the American salesman. He knows how to turn on the charm, but he'll ignore you. He'll turn on you. He'll probably do the silent treatment for weeks to get you so uncomfortable that you'll beg for him to come back. Whether that's as a friend, as a son, as a girlfriend. He'll do all of those tactics. He'll dangle that carrot. He'll do something horrific and tell you it's a joke, to the point where your brain will be so mangled being around him that you won't know who you are anymore, and that you'll probably just do whatever he wants to feel balanced in your nervous system.
And do you remember we spoke about narcissism on mine?
Yeah.
Where I questioned myself, am I a narcissist?
Yes.
Because there are certain traits, there are certain things that I do that would be deemed narcissistic.
Or are they?
Well, this is my conclusion, is that because I've dealt with more than my fair share of narcissists, I've learnt the language. Yeah. And so I can now speak it. I can now return serve. Okay, I know this game of chess. You're going to do that to me. Or if I feel that someone's toxic and they're bad for my equilibrium, I will cut them off. Or I will leave long gaps of silence.
Time, yeah.
And that's not me trying to do that for control. That's me trying to heal.
Well, this is a very different thing. This is what I was going to say, actually, because I've got a lot of people that have been in narcissistic relationships with parents or, lovers, whatever. And they'll say, am I a narcissist? And I say, number one, the fact that you're asking probably means that you're not. Doesn't always mean that. That's not like a foregone conclusion that if you ask if you're a narcissist, you're not, because, we can't say that. But when you're being, let's say, ignored, stonewalled and silent, getting the silent treatment from a narcissist, I think they call it grey walling or grey stoning, where as a response to that, to protect yourself, you have to ignore them back. It's not because you're doing a narcissistic thing. It's because you realise that if I engage here, if I have any contact with you, you're going to fuck my head up again. So it's different.
And let me tell you something as well, because I've had to use the Greystone technique.
Yes.
And I've had to research it and learn it.
Yeah.
And then the person that is narcissistically or covert narcissistically attempting to abuse you.
Yes.
Because nobody will never ever wear that crown with me.
No.
They will never ever break that barrier.
No.
But their attempt, I will then Greystone them.
Yes. Yeah.
But
that's a survival tactic.
And if I was a narcissist, the Greystoning would be silence to control. The Greystoning is when you ignore the narcissist.
Yes.
But I tell you what, it takes fucking strength.
It really does.
And it's really, really hard to do it because you love them.
Yeah.
I don't want to ignore you. I love you. All I want is you.
Yeah.
But I've got to do this to protect my mental health because my mental health has to come before my emotions and feelings.
That's so right. And you know, I'm so glad you've said that because so many people are scared to say, especially publicly, I've questioned if I'm a narcissist.
Oh, I absolutely have, to the point I've gone down the rabbit hole like you would not believe. And the conclusion is that
you're reacting to narcissistic abuse.
I'm protecting myself with narcissistic traits because I've learnt the language.
But you can, and to be clear, where someone is, what you've just said there, because it might confuse some people, I want to be really clear. Like you've said there about like the stonewalling, the silent treatment, and we call it greystoning when you're protecting yourself. When someone is attacking you and they're picking at you, but slowly, like, oh, you're a bit weak, aren't you? Or whatever it is they're saying, or you're pathetic. And they go at you very slowly and they're doing it very calmly. And then you scream and you react and you lash out and they call you crazy. They've gaslit you to the point they've confused you so much. They've battered your brain so much that you then react. That's very, very different to you being the narcissist. So all of these things are really important, that there is narcissistic abuse and then there's the reaction to narcissistic abuse. And if you've been around it all your life, you're bound to have learned how to react to it. But like you say, they mirror each other.
I've learned the language.
Yeah, they mirror each other. But it's definitely very clear to me from what you've said.
Well, how about this then? I call this like the double bluff. So let's say you and me just having a discussion. All of a sudden you say something that You've responded to something I've not said.
Yeah.
And I've said, oh, I didn't say that. No, yes, you did. No, I didn't. And it escalates from there. So you start gaslighting me.
Yeah.
I'm on the receiving end of your gaslighting. But because I'm paying close attention and it's not my first rodeo, I've been here before.
Yeah.
I've experienced this with other forms of narcissists.
Yes.
So you gaslight me for, say, 10 minutes. Then I unravel that web that you've just weaved and I break it all down and I explain to you, this is what you've just done in order to gaslight me. And then you accuse me of gaslighting you.
Yeah.
You're gaslighting me. It's like, no. I'm just untangling that web.
Yeah.
I'm not gaslighting you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to feel like you're going crazy or you've got it wrong. I love you. You're trying to gaslight me. Please don't do that because you may not even realise you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because only 3% of covert narcs are even aware of it.
Yeah.
This is a defence mechanism through early trauma.
That's right.
And we can mend this.
Yeah.
We can repair this, but we've got to work together.
But they don't want to. They don't. That's the problem. That's the problem.
And you don't realise it.
No. And actually what I think you might have done in your life, and we could go into this more deeply, but you might have become codependent at times where, and I've certainly been in that place where I'm like, I see, because again, with you, you've had to understand your dad to survive it. You've had to understand your dad to forgive him. You've had to understand your dad to be able to still carry that love. Not for him, for you. You know, for you to do that at the camera and say, I forgive you, I love you, you're doing that for you, because otherwise you're the one carrying the poison.
I still need to sleep at night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't need that anger in your system. And that's exactly what I've done. And to the disgust of other people at times, because they don't always understand how you could forgive and still love somebody that can do such abhorric things to children. People will never understand that until they've been through it. But my point being is that because of that, your brain has had to adapt to a level of empathy for someone who has done something so horrific that most people will never be able to get their head around it. So it means that when you're positioned with another narcissist, your natural response is to want to fix it, is to want to be empathetic to it, is to want to help them. They don't want to be helped.
And it's, you know, and It's so frustrating as well.
Yeah, it is.
It's so frustrating because there's no getting through, and to the outsider, you look like the bad guy. And here's the thing: anybody that's in a narcissistic relationship, in order to survive in a narcissistic relationship, you being the one that isn't the narcissist, you have to become comfortable being the bad guy.
Yeah, you do. And
that's not nice. If you don't want to be that, if you don't want to be that person, it's not nice.
And let me ask you this then, because this is a question that I think women would often get asked about narcissistic relationships, but I don't know how many men get asked questions like this, especially with your dad being the character that he is. Everyone, like you say, is interested in the salacious, gregarious stuff. But let me ask you this. If that's the case and you have to be comfortable with being the bad guy, and you've probably been in that position many times, do you think that's because you had to self-abandon early on? Because you obviously had to... Children, I always say this, prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until 21. It starts developing at 7. So from 7 to 21, it's developing. And you're learning complex thinking, and you're learning boundaries, and you're learning analysis, and you're learning logic, but you don't have it yet. And even at 21, that's averagely, so it could take a bit longer. And then you've still got to use the benefit of wisdom and hindsight thinking and all of that. And by 35, you're pretty much an automatic response in the brain. But during those years, to survive that strange relationship with your dad, you will have had to self-abandon because he was your hero. You'd have to think, oh, maybe it's me that's not good enough. Maybe it's me that's doing something wrong. Maybe it's me that's bad. Maybe he is just joking. Maybe I've got this all wrong. And they get let off the hook whilst you're taking all that responsibility on. So then when you get into relationships or friendships or work related, it doesn't matter what it is later on with narcissistic people, it's then natural for you to be the bad one. It's then natural for you to question yourself. It's then natural for you to work out how you can make it better because you've been conditioned to do that your entire life. Is that kind of what happened to you later on in life?
2 things in response to that. Try and answer it the best I can. Firstly, I'm a fixer.
Yeah.
I think I can fix people, and I've got a very good conversion rate.
Yeah.
I have fixed a lot of people. My nearest and dearest, my closest friends, I have saved some of their lives where no one could break through. Their mum, their son, their brothers, no one. Because I don't like giving up on anything.
No.
I do not give up, and I fucking don't give up on people.
No.
No way.
No.
So that's one part of that. Because I think, yeah, it fits in with what you've said. But going back to the self, have I been comfortable being the bad guy in the past due to self-abandonment and questioning myself? Am I in the wrong? I've never thought about it that deeply until there and then, and I'm trying to still think, is that what it is? But I think what it really is, where I dealt with so much of that madness with my old man, and it does put me in a position down the line where I sort of think, you'll never get where I've been, so we're not on the same frequency. But bringing it back, I think where I've been comfortable being the bad guy in other, friendships, relationships, professional relationships, if I've dealt with a narcissist, because there's more of them out there than people realise.
Oh, yeah.
What it is for me is, I've had enough.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You've reached me and I'm past breaking point. If you'd have been the first narcissist or second narcissist that I'd entertained, then maybe I'd be, I don't know, I'd think about it differently. But it's just, I've had enough.
Yeah.
I can't tolerate it anymore.
So when you use the fixing, let me ask you this then, because this is another form of self-abandonment, but actually you've used it for good. So I don't want to take that away at all. And I think that's what I do. So we both kind of use our ability to think outside the box and to think empathetically and strategically. What was a way to survive has now become something really purposeful and useful. But still, if you're doing that, is that because one, it's natural because you've learnt it, but 2, do you feel that you're failing people if you can't do that?
No. intrinsically, I know that I would never foul anybody, not purposefully anyway. And if I did foul somebody by accident, then I'd understand it's an accident. Say that again.
Essentially, do you feel that you can't be okay if you can't fix them? Does that sit with you in your nervous system?
Yeah, that's where I was going. Yeah, because it's hard to answer it with just one straight
I know,
point,
it's hard.
They're so layered. No. So what I genuinely believe is that, firstly, there's fixing people, and then there's I'm going to be consistent with you until I mend you. So 2 different levels of fixing and mending. And if I really love somebody, I'm never going to give up on them.
Yeah.
Unless it's just about to break me. And what that is, I think, is that some of the internal damage that's been done to me and the hurt that I've felt over the years, I genuinely wouldn't want somebody that I love to ever feel that level of pain.
Right.
So I'm gonna do the best I can to protect you from ever feeling that, especially if they've not experienced any kind of trauma yet. Because I know, and I always say this, be humble for starters, because things can change pretty quick. One day you're going to get a phone call that's going to change your life, and your world's going to come crumbling down. Are you sitting down? Yeah. Your mum's just dropped down dead of a heart attack. She's gone. Your life has now changed forever.
Yeah.
So if I can keep you safe right up until that moment when we then have to work out another strategy to keep our head above water, then that's what I do.
So your way of managing your pain, if I'm right, because I think you're an interesting and unusual character in the sense that, you know, your dad, I'll come to these incidents, and I know you've spoken about them on other podcasts, but and actually you spoke about this one on the one that I was on with you, but it's interesting for people to hear this. The reason I think you're so unusual is because, like I said right at the beginning, you can go 2 ways with this type of abuse and manipulation and narcissistic abuse. Sexual, it's all of it, isn't it? You've had all of the types of abuse, the rainbow.
Well, we've not touched, and I'm sorry to spoil your flow, but this is important, because we've not mentioned the worst one that I've experienced, the worst abuse that I was subjected to.
Is that with the drugs?
That's the drugs.
Yeah,
that was the game changer.
Yeah, and that is the one that I know you touched on in our episode, but I wanted to go back there because it's so sadistic.
Oh, that's evil.
Yeah, that is evil.
When you ask and I tell you, that is evil.
Yeah. Evil.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would mess... Well, that could permanently mess with someone's... All of it could, but this one was quite severe. And I just wonder whether you've disassociated from your own pain, and that's where you've become like the superhero for other people. Like, I'm going to manage your pain so I don't have to really deal with what I'm feeling. Because that's... You know, I said earlier off camera... The workaholic thing in me, I recognise where there's some avoidant parts. If I can be a workaholic and it happens to be in psychotherapy, my focus is on other people all the time. Now, I'm aware this isn't healthy, by the way, and I'm really happy to say it as a psychotherapist. Like, there are some issues that I carry in terms of being a workaholic, in terms of wanting to be similar to you. Like, I'm gonna be the best that I can for you. You're not gonna have to go. And I'll say this, and it's true, and I do guarantee people, I promise you, with the tools that I'm going to use, it's going to change the way you process information. You're going to feel better. I guarantee it. And I don't say that lightly. And I think you're the same. And that's why I'm so intrigued by the way that you're able to step out of your pain and then deliver that consistently for many, many other people. And I know you have.
It's a good it's a very good question. It's a good thing to touch base on, because I've actually thought long and hard about this one.
Yeah.
By myself.
Yeah.
Long and hard.
Yeah.
So when I observe other people's behaviour, I then think, what have I got in me that's like that?
Yeah.
Because none of us are that far different.
No, we're not.
None of us are that far different. We're all animals.
Yeah.
So when I see traits and actions and behaviours, it's abundantly obvious what's going on. It's as clear as the nose on my face. That person is trying to fix that person so they can avoid their own fractures.
Yeah.
So I see that. So then I say, is that what you do, Liam?
Yeah.
And then if I have days or moments where I think, well, that is the reason why you're doing it, I then address my own pain too.
That's the key.
I do both.
Yeah, that's the key.
I do both of them. If I feel like I'm trying to fix somebody to avoid my own fractures, I then go, right, I've got to put the brakes on you.
Yeah.
It's got to be me first.
Yeah.
And then once I've repaired the fractures and my cup's now overflowing, I'm coming back to you.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, all that good stuff that's overflowing, I'm going to pour it into you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do both. The thing is with me, I'm acutely aware of
everything,
of all my little imperfections and feelings and flaws, and I don't shy from them.
Yeah.
That I won't shy from them. I refuse to ignore the bad stuff about me. I have to try and build a better person.
And I think this is where there's a lot of reflections that I'm seeing, because I think I always say to people, the stuff I'm going to tell you, even as your therapist, about me, not the stuff that's happened to me, just the bits about me, if it's relevant, because I want you to know that you're thinking that and you think you're broken, but I have those thoughts too, or I've done those things too. We're not broken. We're in the process. Never see it as the finality of broken. See it as I'm in the process. So yeah, I've done these bad things. I've had these bad thoughts. I've got frustrated when I've not been able to fix people, or whatever the term is. But that's just me feeling limited in my wounds. And as soon as you bring that to the table, they go, oh, do other people think that as well then? And they've suddenly realised they're not on their own with it. And that's what I really admire about you, is that there is no hiding from who you truly are. You do bring that to the table, and I think that's why the people that you interview, it doesn't matter what their story is, you go in and you're able to see them where they're at, feel them where they're at, and then reflect on where you're at. That's just not normal, but also very, very useful.
I also liked anyone that I come into contact with. You're going to get your surface level conversations. Yeah. You're going to get stopped in the aisle of a supermarket. You're not going to start talking about fucking narcissistic personality disorders and codependency and all the rest of it. But I like a nice, honest, raw conversation. I've got to go in deep, or I think I'm wasting my time on planet Earth. Yeah. I'm wasting my time on planet Earth. I know what the fucking weather is. Yeah. I'm standing where you are. We don't need to talk about the sun or the rain. Yeah. I want to know about you, the core of you. And I'm also willing to share a bit of me if you want to know. So I tend to share a little bit about me first, so people know
it's safe.
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't want to exploit anybody.
No.
So I feel like, hey, this is where I struggle.
I think it's amazing, actually.
Let's share. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not a taker.
No, you're not.
And the thing is, and if you're a giver and you come across a taker, they'll just keep taking.
Yeah, they do.
I like and I always use this, especially when I'm interviewing people. I like an exchange.
Yeah, you do.
I like an exchange of value.
Yeah.
Value.
Yeah.
By you sharing parts of your life with me, I gain, I learn, I listen, I grow. I get value from you. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Here's some of me if you ask it of me. I wouldn't sit here rattling off topics about myself unless I was asked, because that's what my dad does.
But also, it's bloody hard to do. I don't know if you feel that today, but when you're talking about yourself, it's not the easiest thing to do, especially if you're used to holding space for others. It's actually quite difficult.
It will look like a complete dichotomy, what I'm just about to say, but I'm not a big fan of talking about myself.
No, I know.
But there's certain, and here's another thing. I've found this if I'm wrapped around somebody with narcissistic tendencies, that I do tend just to talk about myself. Yeah. Because I'm pushing back.
Yeah.
I'm not getting too much into your headspace.
Yeah. Oof. No.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, you don't want to live there.
So to preserve my headspace, I'm going to have to do a little bit of talking about me. But on a whole, when you're dealing with normal human beings, most of us flawed. And can I just say that anybody that's out there in the depth of despair, fighting depression, no matter how deep or dark it is, or how twisted you feel, or if you failed somebody or something, or yourself, or you're lost, or you're addicted, you have to remember this. You're a human being, and you may think that you're smashed to bits and you're never going to recover, but I promise you, you are bent, not broken.
Yeah, that's so important. You've just said that.
You are bent, not broken, and the key is to get some good people around you to help straighten you out.
Yeah, let them in.
We're veering off now, but I just see so many people without support networks.
Yes, you're right.
And this is why I'm so giving with my strength, we'll say. I feel like I'm obligated to do so.
Yeah.
I've overcome some serious obstacles,
You have.
some traumas. I mean, and I'm happy that we only talk about my dad on this occasion, because
Yeah.
other stuff, you'd get a very I'd just be sat here in floods of tears.
Yeah.
But I feel like I know there's people out there not quite as resilient, and there's people sitting in the corner of their own lounge on their own,
Yes.
crying themselves to sleep every night. And if I can go, do you know what? Let me help you out. Let me tell you something that really hurt me once. Let me tell you what I'd done to get over that obstacle. And it's not fucking hard, and you're going to have to dig deep, and you're going to want to feel better. Do you want to feel better? I'm sure you do. You don't look like you're having a good time. Let me help you. Take this baton.
What do you do with the ones? Because there are the ones that are...
And just for the record, I'm not a psychotherapist.
No, but you might as well be, to be fair.
Or a life coach. I just
You could be.
I just use what I've experienced, and I just think, you know what? I'll
Some
put it out
people are
there.
natural at it, Liam, and you know the lingo, you've studied it in your own way through healing yourself and talking to lots of people.
It's sensory, innit?
It is sensory, yeah.
I feel it, and I verbalise how I feel.
Yeah.
No, I've never read never studied
No.
any
But
kind
some
of
people are
psychology.
Trauma does that to you. It breaks you, or it makes you somebody who just has an innate understanding of the human psyche. Because I said to you earlier, and I'll say it again, when you're in that situation where you're having to be so explorative and curious about every move that adult around you makes, you have to be switched on to them. Again, the child self-abandons to understand the adult and to try and survive it. What happens is you become pretty much a genius at working things out, at being quite quick to know what's safe, what's not safe, what helps, what doesn't help. And that hypervigilance, if used in the right way, can be very, very useful in terms of emotional intelligence. Used in the wrong way, where you turn against yourself and give up, you know, that's where people escape using drugs. And I know you've been there at some point or another, but, you know, they will escape their reality. You've somehow been able to build a bridge somewhere and use those hypervigilance skills for good.
Yeah, never, ever give up on yourself. If you
No.
can give up on yourself, you can give up on anyone. And someone out there needs you. Someone out there
Yeah.
loves you and wants you and
Yeah.
pines for you and relies on you. Do
Yeah.
not give up on yourself.
Yeah.
Ever.
No.
Ever.
No.